and welcome to episode 20 of the Lumi Knits podcast. My name's Hayley and I'm a knitter and a sewist, and I love to make things and tell you all about it. You can find me over on Instagram at lumi.knits and on Ravelry at lumiknitsau, all lowercase. I'm not great at keeping those things updated, but if I say something's there, it's generally there. So you can take a look if it appeals to you. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new, welcome. Hope you enjoy. I would firstly like to say thank you to the Wadawurrung people for their ongoing custodianship of the land on which I am so privileged to live and work. And I'd love to recognise their enduring connection to the land, skies and waterways. And I'd like to pay my respects to all Wadawurrung people and their elders, past and present. So I'm filming at a different time of day than normal. It's the evening here, so it's quite dark outside. The lighting situation is quite bright and a bit grim, I suppose. But this is the time I've got available to me, so hopefully it's watchable. You'll probably hear some nighttime noises going on in my house. I can hear the dishwasher going. The kids might wake up, but you know, that's how it is at this time of day in my home. So again, welcome, and I'm going to jump straight into it because I have got a few things to talk about. I don't think this will be a super long one today, but I do have some stuff that I want to show you and just, you know, check in and see how things are going. So first off, I've got a couple of finished objects, and these ones were kind of unexpected cast-ons. So I'm not sure if I mentioned in my previous podcast that it was my grandfather's 90th birthday back in February, and I made him a pair of socks, and I just did some super chunky bed socks, really, and he absolutely loved them and asked me if I wouldn't mind doing a couple more pairs for him. So of course I said yes, because he's my grandfather and he's 90, and if a 90-year-old asks you for some socks, you generally will make them and get it done as quick as you can. So my knitting time has mostly been around getting those done so that I can give them to him on Good Friday when I'll see him next. And I'm just going to have to shoot down and grab the ones that I've got, and then I will show them to you. So the first ones that I made for him were in a Cleckheaton Verve, which is a 12-ply yarn. It's got, I can't remember the exact quantities, but it is a wool and nylon blend from the top of my head, and they're kind of a bit fluffy, and these ones were done in shades of blue. There was no colorway names, they were just numbers, so it's not really of much interest, I suppose. And I wanted to continue using that same yarn for him, but my local yarn store where I get it from is out in Creswick, which is about a half-hour drive away, and I wasn't heading out that way, so I got my husband to call in and get some. And for some reason I had a bit of a, you know, brain fart, I suppose, and I thought that I needed only one ball for one pair of socks, which is completely wrong. I actually need over 2 balls for one pair of socks, and so I got him to get 3, thinking I could get two pairs out, which is obviously wrong, but you know, sometimes these things happen. So I ended up having enough yarn to make him 1 pair of socks with the Cleckheaton Verve, and we chose this sort of this browny grey colourway, and they've come up really nice. They're just a really basic a basic vanilla sock. I think because the yarn's so chunky and I knit these on a 5mm needle, I only cast on 42 stitches. It's got a very easy fish lips kiss heel, which is my go-to heel now for when I'm knitting for other people. And even for myself, actually, the heel flap and gusset doesn't seem like it's got as good a fit. And it's got my regular rounded toe, which is, I think, from Modern Daily Knitting. They've got a blog post about socks without ears. I'll link this in the show notes if I remember. If not, and you really want to know, ask me in the comments. But in the Socks Without Ears blog post, there is this recipe for a rounded toe, and it always comes out really nicely, and I find it much easier than like a wedge-shaped toe. So I could probably actually show you on this sock. So you can see it's a lot more rounded than a traditional wedge toe sock, and it just comes up really, I think they come up really nicely. You end up with only 8 stitches to close off at the end, and you just thread the yarn through and weave it in. So there's not a whole lot to say about these ones. These are exactly the same as the first pair that I made for him, but slightly shorter in the foot at his request. So that's those. So because I didn't have enough yarn of the Cleckheaton Verve 12 ply to do the second pair, I was in a bit of a time pinch, and I went to Spotlight and I came across the Abbey Road Merino, which is a 12 ply pure merino, and I thought that it would be a reasonable substitution. I failed to notice that the skeins weighed they're balls, they're not skeins. The balls weighed twice as much as what the equivalent sized Verve weighed. So the Cleckheaton Verves are in 50 gram balls. These ones are in 100 gram balls, and they're pretty much the same size. The Cleckheaton Verve is really light and airy, and I didn't think. And the Abbey Road Merino 12 ply is really hefty and thick. It is not airy at all. And I knit them on the 5mm needles thinking it would be the same kind of situation, and it was not. These ones were a real trial to knit. I didn't enjoy it at all because the fabric was so dense. It required a lot of work from my hands, and so by the time I finished the first sock, I was absolutely kicking myself that I didn't just drive an extra 15 minutes to get more of the Verve and make a pair that I knew he'd like, because my concern is that these are going to be far too hot because they are very thick. I decided to shake things up a bit because it's just a flat colour yarn instead of it's not variegated, it's kind of, I don't know. You wouldn't even say it's self-striping. I can't remember. It's 7 o'clock. I've had a long day and I don't remember what that's called. Anyway, so these were just in flat colours, so I thought I'd do a contrast heel, toe and cuff and try and incorporate something of interest. So I went to my trusty favourite sock pattern, which is the Laid Edges sock. It's got this very sweet little sort of like almost a feathery V slip stitch pattern. And I thought I'd incorporate that into these socks for my grandfather. So that's what it looks like. And I really do think it's a very lovely detail to put in a pair of socks. So this is the sock, and it does look really good when I look at it now, but if you could feel how thick this is, it's a lot. It's a real lot. I've popped it on the sock blocker that's the same size as the other one, and I think that they'll fit okay. They're just, because I had a tough time knitting these, I just really don't want to look at them anymore. So I'm going to block these tonight, ready to, hopefully they'll be dry in time. They're so thick. Hopefully they'll be dry in time for me to give to him on Good Friday. And then I have knit him his 2 extra pairs of socks, so he'll be able to put those into his rotation and hopefully keep his feet nice and warm. So that's been the majority of my knitting, has just been getting through those. I've been knitting them on the go, in the car. We went on a bit of a road trip, and I did quite a bit of work on them when we were driving. So I haven't had a whole lot of other knitting time. And the issue that I'm facing is that the projects that I'm working on do require a lot of attention and focus. They're not something I can just take out and about with me. Although I did find an old pair of socks that I was working, well, they're not an old pair of socks, like gross ones that I've already worn. They're a pair of socks that I've been working on for a long time, and they're a 2x2 2x2 rib sock. So I dug them up, and they're my new sort of on-the-go knits now that my grandfather's socks are finished. But my other projects are all very attention heavy projects. So I want to show you my works in progress. I'm not going to show you my Go-Go Dynamo shawl because I've made very little progress on that. I've just started clue 3. But I will show you my Emery Vest and Pullover because the time that I have had and I've been able to sit down and focus, I actually have gotten quite a bit done. So I think the last time I showed you, I had only gotten a small part of the back done. And now I'm onto the front and I'm not that far off joining the front and the back, which I'm really excited about, and I can't wait to have some time to be able to sit down and get that join and just start getting the body done, because I feel like it will probably be quite quick from here. I've gotten a bit of a handle on the pattern and I'm understanding it more, and it's a bit more intuitive now, whereas before I was going through row by row, reading, checking, double checking, and I have had to pull out quite a few rows quite a few times, which has been frustrating, but at the same time it's really deepened my understanding of how this pattern works, so I don't hate that I've had to do that. I did have a bit of a dilemma when it came time to join it on the front section. That's the join there, because I think the cable switched direction, and for some reason my brain could not compute how or why or if I was doing it right, and so then I started to really overthink it. So I went back through the Ravelry page and just tried to find anything I could that showed a photo of the join of the back and the front, and then I finally got that straight in my own mind and went, yep, I'm doing it right, that's how it's supposed to look, I haven't stuffed it up, that's okay. And then I felt much better and was able to continue on from there. So I am really, really loving how this is knitting up. It's very thick. This is going to be a very warm garment. Again, I think this is also a 12 ply, or maybe it's a 10. I can't remember. It's all in my Ravelry. Is it though? It should all be in my Ravelry page for this project. I will try and make sure that that's there. It's either a 10 or a 12, but it was from my Felix cardigan that I frogged a couple of years ago. So loving this project, and I'm really looking forward to the final garment. I do think perhaps I was going to do this as just a vest, but and that was purely because I thought I didn't have enough yarn. And then I went to the drawer where I was keeping it and I pulled out this big beautiful baby that turns out it weighs about 400 grams. So I'm thinking that I may have enough to do this as a sweater with long sleeves, but I want to get the body finished first, and then I'm going to take a look and reassess and decide if I'm going to do that or not. I would like the vest, but I think as a jumper this would be stunning. Look, it's almost as big as my head. This is a big weighty ball of yarn. Anyway, so that's the Emery Vest and Pullover pattern by Joji Locatelli. The Louise sweater that I cast on, as I spoke about last time, I ended up having to pull out because I didn't mark where I was up to and I just totally lost track of where I was at. So I ended up pulling it right back. I've even gone back to the ribbing of the neck, and that's going to have to go on hold because I do have a super special, super top secret cast on coming up. So a special person to me has a big birthday coming up, and I really hope they're not watching, but I don't think they watch, so I'm just going to say it. I really wanted to make this person a cabled jumper. I know it's something that they've wanted for a long time, and I thought, well, this is special, I can do this for them. So the pattern that I've chosen is the Drizzle Sweater. I'm just looking down at my notes, by Suvi Knits, and I weighed up and tossed up a lot of patterns all over cable, sort of a traditional fisherman style jumper pattern. But this one is just a really pretty, elegant cable jumper, and all the details in the front, and then it's stockinette, I think, on the back, and I can't remember if there's detail on the sleeves. But I'm really happy with the choice that I made to do this one because I think it's going to be a really nice garment. I've had to have a stab in the dark, well, not a stab in the dark, an educated guess at the sizing, and so I'm really hoping that I've gotten the sizing right. And I've ordered the yarn for it, and I've ordered the Bendigo Woolen Mills Rustic Tweed in the linen colour. So that hasn't arrived yet, so I can't show it to you, but the linen colour is kind of like a creamy, no, it's not, it's like a beigey, light beigey sort of colour. So that traditional fisherman's sweatery colour. And I think it's going to look really, really nice. I've used Bendigo Woolen Mills Rustic before. The Emery Vest and Pullover is in a rustic, and I really like that yarn. It's very warm, very rustic. Like their name fits it perfectly. And this is a rustic tweed, so it's got the neps through it just to give it that bit of interest. And I'm looking forward to using that yarn, and I think it'll come up really nicely. So that's on the horizon. I'm probably going to cast that on or swatch for it as soon as the yarn arrives, because I want to make sure it's done in time for the birthday. It's not until next year, but I'm a slow knitter and I have a lot of projects that I want to work on in between. So that's coming up. I'm also super excited because I've already purchased the Handmade Sock Society number 6 by Helen Stewart. This was the Handmade Sock Society was one of my first sock pattern purchases right back when I was a baby knitter. And I think I knit 2 or 3 of the patterns from it. Perhaps it was number 3, I can't remember, or number 2, but it was a while ago. And I really enjoyed the way that Helen lays out her patterns line by line. As a baby knitter, it was so helpful for me to have that there so that I could, know that I was on the right track, tick it off as I went. I probably don't need that level of hand holding at the moment, but her patterns are always exquisite. So I'm very excited about that. And that's coming out at the start of May. And I went through my stash and I don't really have an appropriate yarn for this kind of sock. I'm anticipating it's going to have lace, cables, detail that I want to be visible, and I don't want to do it in a speckled yarn or anything like that. So I thought it was a great opportunity to purchase some yarn. I was going to wait until the Australian Sheep and Wool show before I purchased any more yarn, but the pattern comes out in May and I'm really excited to cast it on. I've been knitting for other people a lot and I'm looking forward to doing something for myself. So I jumped onto Etsy and had a look because there's a dye that I really like on Etsy, and the business name is Yarns by the Bay. I'll pop a link to the Etsy shop in the show notes. I've used her yarn before. I think her name's Liz. I'm like 99% sure her name's Liz. But then, you can never be 100% because somewhere in the back of my mind it's saying, no, it's not Liz, it's Susan. 99% it's Liz. We'll find out and let you know. So Liz dyes up beautiful colorways. I have used her yarn before. It's always been an absolute joy to work with. So I jumped onto her Etsy shop and placed a little order. Some of it is a birthday gift for myself from my kids because they don't always choose colorways that I would choose. So sometimes I buy it and then they wrap it up and give it to me. I know that it's, a bit of a spoil sporty way to do it, but this way everyone's happy. And also, I'm not sure that they know that I pick it. I think my husband says that he picks it. So there's that. Anyway, I bought a few skeins for myself for my birthday, but I also got one that was specifically for the first pattern of the Handmade Sock Society that comes out at the beginning of May. So I'm going to show it to you and hope the colour comes up nicely. I don't know how to do that hand thing. I don't know if it works. It's coming out darker than what it is in real life. This colorway is called Tarnished Silver, and it is in beautiful sort of moody greys and blues. The light in here is no good. You'll have to take my word for it. When I saw it on Liz's Etsy shop page, I thought it was a greenish tinge. I thought it had more of a greenish tinge, but it doesn't. It's definitely these bluey greys, and I am absolutely here for it. I really, really like it. I think it's going to make a great sock. It's got just enough sort of change to be more interesting than a flat tonal yarn, but it's not out there in a way that's going to distract from the pattern. So I'm super excited to use this one. It's a deluxe, her deluxe sock base. And it's 85% superwash extra fine merino and 15% nylon. Cannot wait to start that. Won't be swatching, I can guarantee that, because I never swatch for socks, and now it's going to come back and bite me in the bum because I've said that. But I never swatch for socks. I know roughly the needle size that I'll use and If I start knitting and I don't like the fabric, I'll rip it back and adjust accordingly. But yeah, super excited to use this. If you haven't gone on and checked out Yarns by the Bay on Etsy, I highly recommend it. You won't be disappointed. I can't wait to show you my birthday yarns when they come, because they are absolutely beautiful as well. So what more can I say about that? I think that's everything in terms of... bumped the camera. I think that's everything in terms of my whips, my plans, and so many grandpa socks. So short and sweet one today. Thanks so much for joining me, and if you've stuck around this long, congratulations, because that's no mean feat. I do ramble a little bit sometimes. Wherever you are and whatever you're doing, I hope you've had a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Bye.